Alright, welcome to this video. We're going to have a look at building mood boards in Adobe Photoshop. I've got some mood boards here that I've just Googled. I've Googled mood board for design, and mood boards are fantastic for getting the style or just researching a bunch of products, and they can be used for pitching to a client, or a client can even build a mood board for you to give you an idea. It's a way of keeping all your ideas in one place at a quick glance. You can note take on them, you can do anything you want on them. You can even add physical samples if you're doing a physical printed out mood board, but essentially whatever it takes to get your ideas down. It could be color palettes, you name it. It's used in so many industries. It's amazing. So we're going to build ours in Photoshop, and we're going to use a very specific technique for this, which is a non-destructive technique, which allows us to keep our photos fully intact. No matter how many times we scale them, it's going to keep them up to a really good quality resolution. In case we have something in there that we really like, and I go, oh cool, I like this little, these little heart shapes, I'm going to use that in my project. It allows us to rescale those back up to their full potential and reuse them. So let's jump in. I'm going to open up Photoshop here, and I'm going to start a new project. So open up a new file. So I'm going to go File, New, or you can go Command or Control N and open up. Now this is going to be our new documents here. I'm going to set to print and go to A4, because that's a good size for us to build, particularly if we're going to print out for our clients or something like that. Orientation, we can set to portrait mode, landscape mode. Wow. And that's simply because it fits my screen better. And I'm going to hit create. All right, here it is here. I'm going to just zoom out a little bit. So hit Command minus, Command plus, Command minus to zoom in, zoom out. And don't forget Command or Control 0 to give you full screen again. So here's my canvas, nothing on it at the moment. Over here on the right is my layers panel. That's going to be pretty important. At this moment, I'm just going to turn off my properties panel and my color panel. You can see I ripped the properties panel turned off. You can also go to window, and if you have a look in here, I've got my layers panel. I definitely want that. I'm going to turn off color. I don't actually need it right now. So I'm just going to maximize that workspace a little bit. The only tools we're really going to use over in our toolbar is the Move tool. Of course, the shortcut for that is V, and we're going to use our rectangular selection tool. Shortcut is M. Alright, let's talk about two main ways of getting images into Photoshop. One is we're in the internet. I've Googled this image. I go, hey, that's pretty cool. I'm actually going to look at stuff like motion title designs for this particular project, and I really like this one with the Walk on the Wild Side, the cat's eyes. So that could be an influence for me for a title design. So I'm actually going to potentially use that, but for now I'm just going to search up some cat's eyes. So this one's kind of cool. It's got the David Bowie eyes. I'm checking out the resolution here because I do want to have good quality images. So in my tools, I am setting the size to large. So in this particular instance, that's kind of what I want. Actually, I like this black one here as well. So this is a fairly large image. I can see as you hover over there, you should be able to see hopefully the image size. So I'm just going to right click on that and copy image, and then jump back into Photoshop and simply Command or Control V. Now I'm switching back to my Move tool because I had that unselected, and I happen to have auto select on in this case. It is by default, but that definitely helps in this particular instance. And in the cog section here, I've got show transformation controls on. So this is, I don't usually use this for bigger projects, but for mood boards this is perfect. What I can actually see is that the size of my image in this bounding box is larger than my canvas. Now I'm going to transform this down because I want to show you the difference between a smart object and a raster layer if you're not familiar with it already. So because I copied and pasted this from the internet into the Photoshop document, this layer here does not have any icons or anything in the thumbnail view, and essentially that means it is what we call a raster layer. Now if I grab the corner here and drag that down, shrink it down really small, oh dear god, and hit enter or return depending on your layout, and then I'm going to drag that back out again and hit enter again, and you can see it's pretty awful. It's like all blurry and stuff. Definitely not what I want. So I like the idea of being able to have assets that I can reuse, which means I might need to scale them down tiny and then bring them back up to size. So I'm going to Command or Control Z back to that. So the best way of doing this is to take our layer, and this is again, it's what we call a raster layer. It's just a destructible layer. and I'm going to right click in this gray area here and go to convert to smart object, like so. And now it's got a little icon there, and it is now a smart object, which in essence means I can scale it down tiny, apply that transformation, scale it back up, and look at that, it's back to its original resolution. So that's kind of what we want to do. Now it's a smart object, I can scale it without fear of losing the quality. Alright, so I'm going to apply that. Let's throw in another image because we can. So let's pop that up, and there it is there. So where's that David Bowie cat? There he is. Alright, there's my image here. So I'm going to go, and what I might do for this one is I'm going to download this file to show you the difference. So if you do have the sorry, I've done that incorrectly, pushed the wrong button, so right click, save image. Oh my goodness, save image to downloads in this case, not the HTML. Let's make sure it's save to downloads. Oh, I may have already done that. Okay, cool. There he is there, and you know, depending on your system, you can open downloads however it was, wherever you saved it. Alright, so if you have saved the image to a file or your computer or a hard drive or whatever it is, and then you drag it into Photoshop, it will by default bring it in as a smart object. But before it does that, it brings up this little bounding box, and this is Photoshop going, hey, how big do you want this to be when you first bring this in? If it is larger than the canvas, it will typically scale it to the edges of the canvas, but I'm okay with it. It's pretty high res anyway, so I'm going to hit enter, and because I drag and drop, it is by default a smart object. You can see that by that icon there. If at any point you need to rasterize this, you can right click on that and go to rasterize layer. But for me, smart object's going to work really well. And now I can just scale that down really small without issue, without worry about it being pixelated when I scale it back up. So this way I can just keep adding to this mood board and shrinking stuff down. Awesome. So I'm going to apply that. Now I want to show you another really fun thing with this. So I've got two images here, and if I want to start trying to align these guys, you can see I've got some little guidelines. You might see these little pink lines that helps me align stuff. But there's another really cool tool with this. If you hit shift and select both the layers, you can also do this if you have auto select on. You can select a layer, press shift and auto select both layers. And with the move tool selected, we've got some alignment options up here. So if I want these to align to the left, I can click on that, and I'm just going to undo that. If you want to align center align, we've got that, middle align, etc, etc. So we've got quite a bit of play with that, and if you've got multiple, you can actually get them to auto align. I'm going to grab one more image of a cat, this crazy one here. This one's a small one. Let's copy that image, let's paste it in, let's right click, let's convert it to a smart object. Not that we need to, but let's shift select those dudes, and let's center align. Whoop, not that one, that one. Awesome. And then if we go over to the left, if we've got more than two images, we can actually click and have them nice and neatly spaced out. So really cool. One final thing worth suggesting, actually two final things worth suggesting, is that if you do want to focus on a particular area, that is essentially cut out an area that you want to focus on, what you can do there is grab your rectangle marquee tool, select the area you want, and then go down to the bottom of your layer panel. You want to look for this little rectangle with a little hole in it, and if you hover over that, the dog appears, and then click on that, and essentially, oh, I'm on the wrong layer, that one, make sure you got the right layer selected, click on that, and it will add a mask to that layer. So it's essentially going to hide the background of that. It is non-destructive, which means I right click on the mask, I can turn that back off again, or I can delete it and redo it. But that way we can just focus on what we want. The only real downside of that at this point is that it still is going to if you're going to align it, it's still going to select the entire shape of the image, not the mask when it comes to alignment. Alright, now for the final bit is, as far as manipulating the image, is if you do want to add a little bit of pizzazz to this, you can. So let's say, for example, I'm just going to push these things around a little bit. Noticing a little bit of a glitch thing happening with my images, which is super weird. that's just a temporary thing. Yep, so that one worked. Um, Alright, so there's a thing called layer styles, FX button, and at the bottom of our layer panel, and we've got some things like doing a stroke. So this is a nice way of just emphasizing um, your images and maybe getting them to look like photos or something like that. So strokes are one that's just going to add an outline to this. Mine's currently set to black. I might add that as like maybe off-white or something like that. Off-white, that's kind of great, but let's add a little bit of a tinge to that potentially. And we've got some other ones here like drop shadow. So drop shadow could be good just to, I'm just going to push the parameters around a little bit. Distance, push the opacity, size. There he is. So it does have quite a bit of control to it, but that could be something that you might want to play with just to add a little bit of zhuzh to this. So if we go over to our layers panel, you'll see there's our effect. It's got a stroke and it's got a drop shadow, and all I'm going to do is right click on that and copy layer style right at the bottom here, and then you can actually apply that to your other layers. So you can select on this one, right click and paste layer style, and it will add the same layer styles to that image as well. So that just adds a little bit of extra zhuzh to this. Right click, paste layer style, awesome, and there they go, looks heaps better. Alright, now for the final thing, if you do save this, so if you go file save, or file save as if you want to save a version of this, it will ask you to obviously name it and give it a location. If you do have access to cloud documents, you can save it there. But this will save it as a Photoshop document, which means that all of your assets here are still re-editable. I can rescale them up, reuse them for other projects, which is great. But if you are sending this to a client, what you typically want to do is just export it out as a usable project. So easy way to do that is file, export, and what I will typically do is just do a quick export as PNG, name the location. It's going to be lightweight and easy enough for your client to receive via email. It's non-editable, so it's just a flat image, but that works really well for that. Do feel free to add text if you need to. There's a text tool or type tool here. You can draw on it, you can do whatever you need to get the information across. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and we'll catch you on the next time.